So be empathetic. You listen. If you want to build rapport with somebody, guess what you do? You ask them about themselves and you listen. People love talking about themselves. And I guarantee you, if you just listen and you don't talk at all, for instance, and when you meet somebody new, a lot of times they're going to be like, you know what, I like you. And you may not have even said a word. Okay, so let's go ahead and get directly into the task. I'm going to move this. Let's see. So our assignment for the SWA is to write a news/press release for an organization of your choice. Again, we have to make it real, so we can't use Dunder Mifflin. And so we use news and press release interchangeably, so try not to get confused with that. Now, this is really, really important. A rough draft and peer reviews are expected next week. So next week, y'all's lab exit ticket is going to be the peer reviews. That means bring a draft. Bring a draft, okay? We are going to select the type of news release we have. Now, I would suggest right off the bat, I think using an announcement is the most straightforward. We're going to get into it here in a minute, but there are 3 different types, which you can choose from: announcement, feature, and hybrid. And then here's, okay, if I were y'all, I'd take a photo of those, because I looked through the book. Those were all the examples. 104, 106, 109, 117. And you can pull it up right now if you want on y'all's Macs to see some of those formats. Don't copy what they're saying, right? But just look at the format and use that to your advantage. And then 1 page, single spaced, must be over 3/4 of the page. Here we go. Yes, so it's due next week, next Sunday. All right, that's why we're doing our lab exit ticket next week, right? So bear that in mind, please. Now, I think in the reminders, we also have quiz 3 due then also. So remember that we have the SWA, so 2 peer reviews, and the final draft of the SWA, and quiz 3. Here we go. This is just one of the examples I want to include on here. Some of the other TAs put the exact same example. So this is what we're going to be needing. You're going to need, it's kind of like setting up an email. Okay, so you're going to have the 2-line, you're going to have the subject line, even if you format it in a Word doc. You're going to have the 2-line, you're going to have the subject line. So these next parts in the red boxes, those are the really, really important parts that we will count off for if we don't see. Right, so you're going to need for immediate release. I'm going to show y'all mine also, so you'll have a better idea. But this is a great template. This is in the book. And these are all the things that you need. 2 subject, for immediate release. You have the city and the state. The box kind of blocks off the city and the state, but y'all get the general gist. That, and then you see that the city is capitalized. Most people do that, so I would do that too. Then you have all your body stuff, boilerplate. That's that box at the very bottom, this one. And then you are going to want to end with hashtag, hashtag, hashtag. That signifies the end for this assignment, okay? So don't forget it, because I will count off for it. You can either do the hashtag, 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 or you can do -30 dash. Okay? Does that make sense? It's just, it signifies the end for whoever's reading the press release. And then you are going to have your media contact info at the bottom. There's more book pages, by the way. 109, 114. All right, so news and press release. Like I said, it's used interchangeably, at least for this assignment. It's an announcement of newsworthy info on behalf of a company or an organization. And that means, like AP Style says, it is directly to the point. We want to convey exactly what we need to convey, because it's newsworthy info, okay? And we went over this before, these bullet points. What's newsworthy? Timeliness, impact, uniqueness, conflict, proximity. If you want a solid grade, proximity is a great one. So find something around Lubbock. That'd be a very, very strong idea. I don't think at the time. I will look at my example here in a minute. So you don't have to. But if you want a decent basis, proximity is a good idea. And then celebrities. Types of releases, like we talked about a second ago, there's the announcements, so it's straight news story. That's the one I think I did. Feature, you put info and entertainment. So the reason why I say stick with an announcement, just as my advice, is because it's the most straightforward. With the feature and the hybrid, you include a little bit more stuff. So, and you can see here in the bullet points, the first one says straight news story, and the other two is like info and entertainment, and then feature and announcement. Okay, which all the examples you can find in the book. Format and design. I think I go over this a lot, so bear with me. It's like an email, like I said, so just remember to include that to line in the subject line. You do answer the 6 honest serving men like you did with the previous assignment. You include all the organization, background, and history. And it's like a brief background in history. Okay, so you don't have to go super in depth. I think it's like 2 or 3 lines that you can do the background and history. I'll try and show you in my example. I think I took a photo of my example, but I'll pull it up later once we're done. 1 page. Okay, so please remember that. A lot of times these things bleed over, but we will want to make sure it's 1 page. Type the key fact in the email subject. We want to know exactly what we're talking about. Put it in the subject. Don't be all flashy. Just put exactly what you're talking about. And then, so before the headline, like I said, we do need to see the for immediate release, and then we do need to see the date of release. Does that make sense? Awesome. All right, so the ending of the formatting and design of the document, this is at the bottom. For more information, contact your information at the bottom. I think, let's see. Yeah. Underneath the hashtag. That's where you go. All your contact information, okay? The title. This info should be aligned with for immediate release on left-hand margin. That's what Professor Holt included, so I would definitely just triple check you have that in line. Reminders. Okay, so you use spacing strategically here. So leave a blank between heading and headline. So just put space underneath it. News release is to be typed in big bold letters. Now on Professor Holt's lectures, she says putting 24-point type font, which I can't tell if she's just using as an example or telling you to do it in 24-point type font. I didn't do that with mine. I put it in all caps and I bolded it. And I don't think I got counted off for it. So if you're unsure about that, I would definitely suggest asking Professor Holt if she means to actually put it in 24-point type font. Okay? Dateline. Follow AP style for the dateline. Okay, so we went over those rules, I think, last week. Pretty sure. So it's like, remember the abbreviations and stuff like that. And yes, please follow AP style. And then everything else is in 12-point font. I know that was, in the last assignment, it was a little iffy because it wasn't exactly stated in the requirements. So here it is for this 12-point font, okay? And then, like I've harped on already, there's the example of -30 dash. So you can do the triple hashtag, or you can do the -30 dash at the very end. That just signifies that we're done, that you're done writing. Okay, I think, yeah, here's a picture of mine. There was more to it, which I'll bring up once we're done with the lecture. But this gives you a general idea. See, like, you don't really have to care about or worry. You don't really have to worry about how many sentences are in a paragraph. This is similar to the last assignment we did, where it's like once you get the point across, you go to the next line. Now, I would be cautious. Like, if you sum everything up in one sentence, that's great. But making a sentence one paragraph looks a little weird sometimes. So I would suggest around 2 to 3 sentences per paragraph, okay? And see, I don't think I went over proximity. Let's see. Washington State. Yeah, I went over SpaceX. Launching of their Falcon 9. So I'll pull it up later if y'all would like. But there's the hashtag. There's the for immediate release. And then, oh yeah, you can see it up at the very top. 2 is to Professor Holt. Does that clarify with a lot of people how we're gonna? Yes, yeah, I'd imagine. Now it's not like we're actually sending an email, right? But so like I formatted this in a Google Doc, I think. But we'll need to see the two line stuff like that. So we'll come back to it. All right, PR and journalism. Jeez, I'm gonna give you a lot of time. Okay, so PR versus journalism. PR is the maintenance of favorable public image through building positive, beneficial relationships. A lot of times it's subjective. A lot of times it's going up to people and introducing yourself and maintaining that image for a company for a long, long time. Okay? Journalism is the art and craft of finding and telling stories to inform and engage the public. Typically, it's a little bit more objective. Okay, kind of like a straightforward news story. So PR, think one-on-one, and journalism, you think to everybody, to the publics. There is a common goal, though. These are all common goals with PR and journalism. It's open, honest, and fast communication with the public. I can't remember, are any of us PR majors, double majors at all? Not, yeah, a few of us? Okay, so that's one of the things that they teach, is open, honest, and fast communication with the public. Building rapport and trust with audiences, that's great. That's great. You're going to need to do that sort of thing, especially when we all grow older, even if we don't go into PR and even if we don't go into journalism. You're going to need to build rapport with the people around you. And then relaying fact-checked information, that's great. Definitely need that. If you don't do that in PR, that's a little dangerous. People can see that as spinning, and you can lose the trust of your audiences. And then cultivating and using honest sources. That's over time. So as we all grow older, eventually we're going to go into our separate industries, and we're going to find people we like and find people we don't like. We want to cultivate the ones we like, the ones we can use. Okay? The principles. This is in, I think, the book, and it's a lot of info, but I want to go over it. So the principles of persuasion. So as human beings, we can be persuaded by a lot. It's in our blood, okay? We are persuaded by the things we see, the advertisements, by people. It's a skill. So I think the book does a really good job of adding some of these principles on how to persuade people. So be empathetic. You listen. If you want to build rapport with somebody, guess what you do? You ask them about themselves, and you listen. People love talking about themselves. And I guarantee you, if you just listen and you don't talk at all, for instance, and when you meet somebody new, a lot of times they're going to be like, you know what, I like you. And you may not have even said a word. It's because you let them talk. That's great. Allow yourself to be motivated by a desire to find a solution that's best for everyone. That's great. We all love that sort of thing. Don't be too selfish, right? That just bleeds into empathy. I'm not exactly sure what that big E there is on a lot of these, so we're going to ignore it. Guardedness, what's in it for me? So it's not all empathetic. You also have to think about yourself, right? You don't want to be just trampled all over. You don't want to be taken advantage of. So when you're cultivating relationships and stuff like that, what's in it for me? So there's a balance. There's a balance. Just because you're willing to listen doesn't mean you have to agree and change your own opinions. Okay? A lot of people who are people pleasers might have trouble with this. A lot of people like me. You got to work on that sort of stuff. It's a skill. Accessibility. You do have to consider what you are bringing to the table and be willing to change your opinion. Be willing. Doesn't mean you have to. And you may be wrong. That's tough. That's tough. Not too many people like to be wrong. Especially somebody like me. It sucks. No one likes to be proven wrong. So just when you go in talking to people, remember that sort of thing. If you're calling them out, they may not like that very much. Nonviolence. That should be pretty self-explanatory. This should go without saying. Yeah, look at that. But violence has no place in ethical persuasion. So persuasion is a skill, and it can also bleed into being manipulative. So you got to be careful with this sort of thing. Like, say for instance, you want to get something out of somebody, you can persuade them, right? But that doesn't always mean it's ethical. So these principles are great because you can balance what you want out of all these things. So empathy, guardedness, accessibility, and nonviolence. Messages. Building the right ones. Attention, set yourself apart. The target audience is overwhelmed by daily clutter. Get noticed. What's important? They sum this up perfectly. The target audience is overwhelmed by daily clutter. If you think about our everyday lives, how many advertisements do we see in a given day? Can anyone guess?
It's like ridiculous.
Yes. It's insane. It's insane. And there's a reason why they're repetitive, by the way. It's because they're persuasive. The more you see it, the more persuasive it is. So daily clutter, how can you set yourself apart? You can do this through really, really important information that people want to know. You can do this, for instance, like money. People always want to know where their money is going. You can do this with design, catch people's attention with colors, right? Need, discover the need/problem by listening. After you have identified the need/problem, you can propose your solution. That's also a skill. I'm not too good at that sort of thing. I own a little t-shirt shop. It took me 2 years to figure out what people kind of like in terms of t-shirts. They like smaller logos, the upper left-hand side. Okay? But it took me a while. So that's not necessarily solving a problem, right? But if you're good at that sort of thing, you might have been able to notice that a little bit sooner. Satisfaction. Offer a multifaceted solution that satisfies everyone involved. That's tough. Keep that in mind. It may not always go according to plan, but obviously if you solve a whole bunch of people's problem, they're going to like you for it. They're going to buy your product, for instance. Visualization. Illustrate the consequences of success and failure, which is the most important step. So it's like, okay, if you're not going to buy this product, that's a failure. Show them that it's going to be a failure. Show them why they need it. And action. It is up to you to tell the audience what to do with your proposed solution. A lot of times, as an audience, ourselves, we need to be told what to do. That's why a lot of the advertisements and the industry of the advertising industry is set up the way it is. It's when you look at these persuasive messages, the next time you see an advertisement, I would think of these: attention, needs, satisfaction, visualization, and action. Because all the good advertisements, something like Nike, they're going to be telling you all of these things. And it's kind of scary, right? So we can, what's up? Did you have a question? Or? Yeah. Okay, I thought you said something. My bad. I was going somewhere with that. But we can attach all these things, obviously, to our assignment and in general. So things like PR, things like journalism, things like advertising, they have a lot of similar facets to each other. Okay? Remember, persuasion is unavoidable in strategic writing, and ethical writing is based on listening. Think win-win situations. A lot of times when somebody hears persuasion, they think win-lose. And if somebody goes in with that mindset and they perceive you trying to persuade them, it's like, okay, if this is a win-lose, I want to win. I want them to lose. Right? So you have to try and persuade them thinking, no, this can be a win-win. We can both do this. We can both come out on top. Okay? So I like that first part. Persuasion is unavoidable. It's because we're people. Okay? And like I've talked about, it's a skill. Talking to people is a skill. Persuading people is a skill. And how you get better at skills is you actually have to practice. Okay? And even though this is just an assignment, I would practice. I would practice on me, for instance, since I'm the one who's going to be grading it. Try and persuade me. Why is this info important? If it's not important, why am I going to read it in the first place? Right? Ethical writing. Love ethics. Has anyone taken an ethics class? Is it required? I don't think so. No? Yeah, it's a fun class. So, honesty and accuracy, that makes sense. Fact check your stuff. Please, fact check your stuff. Because I'll be going over that again. Completeness, you do the entire story, even if you don't like it. Both sides, both positive and negative. We've talked about that before in the last assignment. Timeliness, important info needs to reach audiences quickly. That goes back to like something like money. You want to know where your money is going. So if it's about somebody's money, you get them their information quickly. It's their livelihood. Now, fair distribution, I know it says everyone who needs the info must receive the info. That bleeds into the audience and also to with whom you're working. So if you're in a department and you've got some really important information that somebody else in a different department needs, you get it to them as quickly as you possibly can. So that goes in the industry and also to the audiences. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. I think we're almost done here. For the assignments, balanced personal pronoun usage. So if you see a lot of he, she, stuff like that, I would try and balance that, because throughout a story or throughout an assignment like this, it can add up really quickly and it can get very, very annoying. Avoid personal words. Your wife, your husband, your parents. I don't even think you're going to be talking about somebody specific. You might not be. But if you are, you don't know them personally. So don't act like you know them personally. Don't describe individuals by race, ethnicity, religion, age, sexual orientation, physical, mental characteristics unless relevant to your document. So if it's relevant to include the age, include it. Say, for instance, there's a multi-millionaire who's a 13-year-old. That'd be pretty cool, right? You might want to include the age. And highlighted in red, big letters, AP style, what we talked about. Clarity and brevity. It's not a narrative necessarily. It's straight to the point. Okay?